once again to Everything We Do is Magic. This is my introduction to Chaos Magic, episode 12. And as I promised you last week, I will tell you about sigils and how I use them. What is a sigil? Just if you may ask, there's plenty of information online that you can look it up, but a sigil is basically a sign, a symbol, a drawing. It could be multiple things, but it's something that you transfer the energy of your intent into, and it's used for manifestation. If you're watching this on an iPhone, or if you've got a pair of Nikes on, then you have fallen prey to a manifestation through a symbol, a sigil. Sigils are used exclusively in advertising to convey meaning in a product and to translate or to make you, like when you see a Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola symbol, you may get a warm, fuzzy feeling because the emotions that are attached to the first time that you saw that symbol. So those symbols have an energy and an intent in them, and those are sigils. There are a lot of other sigils as well. Adam Blackthorne has a whole book on sigils of power and transformation. There are a sigil to become the center of attention and silence the negative voice, cancel a curse. Wow, those are all good ones. Maybe I should hit those sigils now. But these are specifically used in a specific manner. And I do use those. I've got the book. I use that. I use a lot of the stuff from that particular school of magic. It's not that school of magic is any better than the others. It's just easy for me to work with because they use a lot of archangels and coming from a background of first being a Christian pastor and then studying basically studying to convert to Hasidic or religious Judaism and studying a little bit there. It's an easier background for me to follow. But I'll tell you now how to create your own basic sigil. I'll go through a couple of methods that I've used, and then I'll show you a really quick method that sometimes is quite effective for me. The first method I'm going to show you is to simply write out a sentence with your intent on it. I desire to lose 20 pounds. Once you've written your desire, you go through and you mark out all the vowels and all the common consonants. And in that sentence, I came up with just the final two letters, WP. Now, I just did a simplified little drawing out of that, but you see I incorporated the W and the P into the sigil. And now this would be the sigil that I would charge to manifest this intent. Now, of course, you can use more complex sentences. You can use your imagination to draw it out. There's a variation on that, automatic writing, where you just have your intent and you can just enter a state of meditation and just allow your hand to go where it goes. And there are some practicing mages who have formed entire alphabets with sigils in that matter. It's called automatic writing. But those are both ways. Then one of the other things that I would do sometimes is to translate this first letter into the Hebrew alphabet or a close assimilation or close proximity to that particular letter, since there's no letter for letter translation, but something similar to the sound, and then make a sigil out of the Hebrew letters. So those are all variations. I'll tell you about charging sigils in a moment, but I want to first mention another form of sigil, which are that I use and utilize, which are mudras. Mudras are hand gestures, and much like Chaos Magic, I just kind of let my hands do what they wish to do in order to make a particular mudra and connect certain fingers, and then I'll change positions of my hands. And because I release those mudras, the hand gestures, it's the same kind of idea behind releasing the desire for the result that charges the sigil. And so now we'll talk about that. Charging the sigil is kind of a dance around issue there, but in charging the sigils, there are several ways to do it. Adam Blackthorn, I believe they used the light from darkness in charging their sigil. Actually, no, there's no charging of the sigil with them. It's just closing the book and stepping away from it. The sigils are used over and over again. But if you're using a sigil, just a one-time thing, I've got sigils all around here that I use to house servitors and to draw archangels protection, those kind of things, and those are permanently there. But as far as sigils that you're using to manifest a specific issue, you want to have those disappear, basically. Some people will burn their sigils after they've released their intent into it. I even have, from time to time, will draw sigils on the roof of my mouth with my tongue, and then the saliva, of course, as it evaporates, the sigil disappears. There's a particular sigil that I utilize all the time that's kind of a all-purpose sigil, kind of a boost power charge sigil that I use, that I do that with often. And as I said, the mudras, the movement of the hands, that's releasing it. There are other ways that you can, and again, what you're doing is you're putting all of the energy and all of the emotion into that sigil. Austin Spare did, he would masturbate over his sigils, and then at the point of climax, he would envision the sigil. And so there are different ways to charge those sigils. So I created a sigil here. I set an intent upon it. I gazed upon the symbol and put my intent into it. And now I'm going to allow you, in whatever way you choose, to help me in charging this. Now, personally, what I do is I generally will use two methods. I'll use creating light from darkness, and then I'll burn the paper that the sigil is on. So with this sigil here, what I'll do is I'll look upon it, and what I want you to do is charge it with me. And I'm asking you to trust me on this. It's nothing to do with anyone else. It is a personal thing here. You'll be helping me in my desire here. And so as I look upon this, and I'll look upon the symbol, and now what I'll do in my mind is I will go to a place of complete darkness. I will just go into my mind to a place where there's not one single aspect, one single flicker, one iota, one tiny even just hint of light, where it's absolute blackness that I can't see beyond my nose, that I am just enveloped in such a darkness and such a blackness that I can feel it. And out of this blackness, somewhere off in a far corner, I see a tiny flicker, a speck of light begin to break through. And as that light begins to break through, it gets more intense and larger and more intense and larger and more intense and larger, until finally the light has eradicated all of the darkness, and there's nothing but a bright, glowing, gleaming light in my vision. And now I'll take a deep breath and inhale that light, and breathe it into the sigil. And now I'll burn it. Next week, we'll go a little further on my journey into Chaos Magic. We'll see. I may visit doing some servitors again. We may look at some other alternative means of magic. We'll see where it leads us. Anyway, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this. And remember, everything we do is magic. Namaste.